Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much, guys. Please, you can sit. I think we must one chair missing.
We got one
Take
chair.
that one back. Thank you.
Go ahead.
So I think we have a fantastic panel amongst us. Varied amount of industries, fashion to opticals to many other segments of the fashion industry that we have, and we have some very new brands and then some old brands celebrating 100 years of one of their denims also. So I think it's a fantastic panel to have, and I think the topic of the discussion of this panel is that is it good, is the Indian economy and the Indian industry, fashion industry, mature enough to have very specific brands or categories? So I think the panel is very varied, so we'll like to start, Govind, from Sanjay. Sanjay runs one of the most successful Indian denim brands, and let's hear from him and then go down the...
So I think the markets, I think, are pretty matured, and Indian consumer and consumerism is at its historic best. I see a lot of cannibalization between a lot of brands operating in a similar space. And so from that perspective, I think it makes sense for each brand to craft a niche of its own. Till yesterday, maybe the market was not really large enough for anybody to do that. But I think going ahead, there are going to be enough and more consumers for all of us, specifically having their own choices and selections being discerned. And there would be enough and more for each category, each section, each segment. I also feel that's probably the way to go ahead because that's one of the ways to expand the market. And at Spiker, we've been doing that for a long time. Within the denim portfolio, if the trade knows us, we kind of really add a lot of value on the fashion segment. Close to 60% of fashion, rather the entire collection, is more on a hit and run basis, where high fashion on denims is provided to consumers. So I see that this has worked for the brand, and I see that this is the need of the hour going ahead as well. It just makes the market a lot more exciting and vibrant, and also larger in its own ways.
So you said you're one of the most successful Indian brands. Can you share a little more detail about the TG? Because we are looking at segmentation, so we just want to understand how broad is your TG, or is that very specific, or you've broken down your TG and have separate collections? So if that you could put a little bit...
So I mean, within the denim business, we kind of built our business on two pillars. One is talk to a very young audience from a 0 day. And the other pillar is that we will only talk to him for his fashion denim needs. Obviously, there is the concentric circles that you have around your core business products. We would be doing a lot more other than that what we've kind of promised as a core. But these are the two strong pillars on which the entire business has been built on. And I see that the markets have rewarded us very well on the same. It's just been a couple of years that Spiker has started its core collection, where a very classic 5-pocket, which probably Hiren would subscribe to, is being offered from Spiker. Otherwise, everything that we've done, even if it's a basic 5-pocket, there is some value add to it, which kind of differentiates us from a lot of other brands which are operating, who are much bigger in stature and also in terms of its vintage. And I think that has helped us a lot of good things, and we've been very, how do I say, we are very happy to kind of accept what the consumers have thrown back at us in terms of their love and gratitude. So it's worked for us, and I think that's probably a model which we should follow, because that's going to expand the pie, and that's needed as far as the trade is also concerned.
So I'll jump from you to Hiren, because Hiren, you run biggest denim brand in the world, 100 years of history. So how do you look at it? Because you have a very large TG, if I look at it, from youngsters to people who are mature by. So how do you segment it? How do you work upon it?
So I would say, so from the point of view of segmenting, of course, with the price points that we operate, we have to move a little, so we wouldn't go after too young an audience, so it would somewhere be ahead of 22, 23 years of age. More than that, you got to break it down into the affluent and the sophisticated class as well. So from that point of view, we target that kind of a mature consumer. But having said that, it's quite dynamic these days, and the kind of urbanization that we are looking at, the kind of the discretionary spends that are left over with the young earning people is left with, I think we see even that changing very rapidly.
And in the same store, you said a red loop, and then you sell that entry price point denim of yours. So how do you segment? How do you get the same, both different consumers to your store? What is there a thought behind it? If that can be shared, because that will be interesting for people to know.
No, I think consumer exists, and it's about meeting their demands when they walk into your stores. And I don't think it is to do with a particular city where red loop has to be kept or not to be kept. It is about, so we sell red loop in a good share in cities like Meerut, and as much as we sell it in cities like Delhi as well. So it is more about meeting that demand. Consumer exists there. So the way you come across as your first expression, your elevated expression, is where the magic happens.
Cool. I'll jump to Manjula. Manjula, you have, sorry, you want to say something? Yes, come in, Zach.
Yeah, because I'm also from Pepe. I think we, looking at segmentation, I think, Vineet, my thought is, what's your brand name? For example, if I pick mine, so Pepe Jeans, so what you stand for? Consumers' mindset has the segment in their mind itself. So are they deep into the segment? Of course they are deeper, because some of the names really resonate what you actually stand for. So do you hyper do it? I think that makes a mistake of doing hyper, because you belong to part of lifestyle of a consumer. So you keep your segment as the core of your strength and continue developing that and strengthening it. But while you need to move around what works for you as a spin-off in that particular segment. So I think that gets you a size, scalability, and resonates to the consumer mind as that, okay, you are a denim brand, but you are a casual business guy. Therefore, I'm okay with having a t-shirt, a casual sneaker shoes, and extensions which are very relevant to this. Unlike, if I pick an example, unlike Nirma saying we will do a toothpaste. So consumer might feel this is a washing powder in the tube. But we have natural extensions. I think every brand need to look at consumers' perception about what is your natural extension, and you must do it.
Okay, I'll come to you, Manjula, now. You have multiple brands in your portfolio and almost the same age group, if I look at it, but you've segmented differently. So what has been your thought of having different brand names, different experiences, and why is that, I think, will be a good learning for us?
So I think when we think about creating a brand, the center of it is the customer and what she wants, how is she going to connect with the brand. So when I created Cover Story, it is about the customer who really, really wanted to be able to access international fashion without any dilution, but that fitted her body type and her shape and the cultural context. So we created a product which really met her requirements. Ancestry was a brand where we talked about Indianness and what modern India means. So basically, the aspiration of this customer was very different. And the brands therefore had to have a different name, a different environment, different experience, because you cannot say we are talking international fashion and sell Indian fashion to the same woman. So I think,
Sachin, yeah.
So I think it's important, we need to understand that a brand is more than just the product you sell with the price tag. That is not a brand, that's a product and a price. Under, maybe online, maybe in four walls, under a roof, a brand has to have an emotional connect. The greatest brands in the world, Nike, Apple, Levi's, some Coca-Cola, there is an emotional connect. Otherwise, if you really build it down, it's nothing but some ingredients, right? So I think when we are building brand, any extension that we do, or it comes from the consumer. And today it's actually the question that we are trying to address is, should we get sharper? In my mind, how can we get wider? And I tell you why. Because today, there are some amazing D2C brands. The world is flat. It's easier to create one product and talk directly to your consumer through your digital communication. So if that person is walking into your brick and mortar store, it is a lot of effort for the person to come in because transaction is easiest at home, right? So when she's coming into your store, how are you going to be relevant and be part of her entire life? How much do you understand? And if you look at Inditex, last year they started selling pet clothes, dog clothes, because during COVID we know what happened to that market. So I think when you really understand your customer, like you said, the extensions become automatic and a corollary if you really deeply understand your consumer. So I think right now, it's about share of wallet. Stay sharp on the emotional connect. What kind of woman I'm addressing? She's urban, tier 1, tier 2.
Yeah.
But I would like to address all her needs rather than just be extremely sharp and extremely too much into one category.
Cool. Sachin, I'll come to you in a minute. I have a question for Lavish because you guys have multiple brands. You could have done a house of rare and have addressed this from the same store, as Manjula said, many different consumers. But you still decided to split the brand because you are one of the latest entrant from that perspective. So why do you guys think differently to what Manjula is saying?
Well, I would say. Can you repeat the question, please? I didn't hear.
So he has brands which are different.
Yeah.
I want to ask from him, why have they not created one brand rather than creating multiple brands? So I'll come to you after Lavish comes in. Yeah.
Sure. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible now.
So I actually agree with a lot of points which Manjula made. I actually agree with a lot of points Manjula made. However, when it comes to House of Rare, we wanted to cater the same consumer but the different sex. So we wanted to, cater the female this time, but with a different preference when it comes to fashion and product line. That is why we wanted to create a different brand. Now, the philosophy here is very simple. As we were talking about the 5 Ps, 4 Ps, we have the 5 Ps here placed. When you want to create a sharper brand, you cannot mix everything in one under one name. And if you do that, the consumer gets confused, and then you become just one of that product provider, not the experience creator eventually. So we focus on those 5 Ps. One is the product, which has to be very, very sharp. In order to make the product very sharp, you need to know who's your consumer. In order to know who's your consumer, you need to know where is the market gap or which kind of consumer you can target, which is going unsatisfied when it comes to shopping for his wardrobe. So yes, we try and get that gap fulfilled by creating the right product for the consumer. Then we create the right positioning of the brand, because positioning is the hardest. You can create a wonderful product, but it is very difficult to position it, whether it comes to online media market or malls or high streets. So you have to be very, very careful that where you want to be, where you want to actually go and say no. So positioning is extremely important. The third part is people. In order to create the brand sharper or sharp brand, you really have to have sharp brains working in your organization. So if you have hundreds of sharp brains working together towards a collective goal, I think that becomes very easy. Apart from that, you need to really have right kind of partnerships and a lot of passion. So once you mix all of that and start working towards creating, which is very unique and rare, that is when you create Rare Rabbit. And when you wanted to create Rareism, it was a bit different from Rare Rabbit. That is the reason we did not mix it up. When we created Articale is anti-Rare Rabbit brand. So it cannot be in Rare Rabbit. When I say anti-Rare Rabbit, Articale is very subtle. It does not talk about designs. It is very subtle, simple, easygoing. However, Rare Rabbit is completely opposite to it. So that's the reason we created the third brand. So I think that's the journey so far.
Vineet, I just want to say that I think the sharpness has to come in you have done a great job with Jack and Jones. It's really like you say the word and you know exactly the emotional connect the brand has built over the years. I think the sharpness has to be about how you connect and how sharply you're connecting with a specific type of consumer. And that's what all of us, we can't look like Me Too's now, because there is just too much clutter for anyone to remember you for anything if you look like everybody else. That's really important today.
Yeah.
Sachin, will come to you. I think you have a store where you sell
nothing,
everything.
nothing much. Just to add to what others are saying. For our product, we have made a very simple, easy strategy that we target about the age bracket is 25 plus, and for the women 25 to 55, 60, and every year we've noticed that they want to look more modern, a little bit more modern every year. So we tweak a little bit of product range in that way, go forward with it, and our focus is on tier 1 cities. And what we have felt is that those products become day wear, casual wear for the women in the urban cities, and the same product becomes a very, occasional evening wear, some kind of a small ceremony wear in tier 2, tier 3 cities. So that's like working for us very well. That is all I need to say.
Same is for us as well. In fact, when I was talking about creating or finding the gap in between, when it comes to Rare Rabbit, I would say, we actually identify the gap between formal and casual. We identified the gap between black and white and too colorful. We identified the gap between office wear and occasion wear. So I think if you're able to find that, and it really helps you. Also the age group.
So beneath age is an extension. So he was mentioning about, so she was also saying that, segment could be product, segment could be category that you belong to, which is actually that what you anchor on it. But age probably is something which we can cut across to. I'll just give one example of, so we being denim rooted, and then who is the denim lover in the country? So these are the millennials, youths. Do they love denim casual? Yes, of course. So then we created the kids version of it. So then that actually turned successful because these people are a natural extension of your product, but across a different age. So it's not, so you really need to define what is your sharpness and category specific focus that you want to drive, but then you can move around either geographies or in age class.
But I'll ask you once way, what is your TG that you communicate to them?
Within that's what I'm saying. Pepe Jeans as a brand is actually the adult, and the business belongs to the adult. But over a period of time, in 30 years time, we obviously realize that there is a natural extension to this brand, but you do denim as the focus for that category. So it has turned out to be very successful for denim in that category, even when you moved out of the adult age to a teenage.
Cool. I think we'll come to Lavanya. I think Lavanya, you have a very different category where there are so many occasions, but people buy a lot of intimate wear, a lot of lingerie wear, which is important. So how do you segment that category?
Am I audible? Yeah. So let me actually, pick up threads from what everybody is speaking, So how Zivame came into existence was obviously to address the shopping experience, especially in a lingerie category, which was very poor. Even today, more than 60% of this market is unorganized. That's how Zivame came as a brand play where people have the, what I would say is a branded lingerie, otherwise it was very unorganized. During the course, what we realized that the women's wardrobe was changing, right? So everybody here is talking about urban women, her wardrobe is changing. She's not wearing traditional pieces. But what people didn't realize that for a woman, the innerwear changes according to their outerwear, right? You cannot wear the same lingerie, what you wear traditionally under, say, a sari or under a salwar to wear on a Western outfit, So that kind of gave us a play for the innovation of products, whatever we came in. And also, we develop products for the Indian body type, So it's actually a very different evolution of the brand compared to the others, So here we started solving the problem what women had when it came to their dressing, How can they kind of pair it right with the respective outerwear. And our products, we started developing around it. While we started with say a professional 25 to 35-year-old women, but today we have Z girls, so we understand that, the need for lingerie starts much earlier. So we have Z girls as an offering. And at the same time, across all life stage of the women is what we are trying to kind of address to. So we do have products for a matured age group also. While, we started with a certain age group, but today we see that really extending across the life stage. So I think so it's more with the category and how it's kind of developing today.
I have a follow-up question, but I'll come back once I'm
Sure.
done, because your
Yeah.
category is one of the most interesting categories, very differentiated, also less competition. Whatever competition was there, you guys acquired it yourself. So we'll come to that question as well. But I come to Gautam, I think your category is also the product in which you operate. You have less products, but you have too many colors or options in that. How do you manage that in your portfolio then?
See, our product is a core product, but just extending to what they said, we are not defining ourselves that we are ethnic, Western or fusion. We are calling ourselves as a bottom wear player. See, today, when a lady is doing shopping her top wear, she's going to an ethnic wear store or she's going to a Western wear store. Today, when we started bottom wear, we didn't want to entangle in that ethnic, Western and fusion. The way we have defined Go Colors is that we are a one-stop destination for all of ladies' bottom wear. So today, if a customer is shopping in a H&M or a Zara or any other ethnic wear brand also, they all are our customers and they're coming for bottom wear. So the way we are differentiating ourselves from the clutter is we are saying that we are a one-stop bottom wear. We are not defining ourselves ethnic, Western or fusion. And that's one of the differentiating factors.
I recently saw top wear selling in your store. So what is that?
Sorry?
I also saw
Top
top
wear.
wear selling in your store. So you
No, we don't sell top wear. It's just to complete the mannequin.
So you do sell top wear.
We don't sell top wear.
You don't sell
No.
top
We
wear at
don't
all?
sell top wear at all, only bottoms.
Only a VM.
So I'll come to you, Apeksha. I think you operate a very different category. I think a category I love a lot because I buy a lot of that, and so does my friend here, Amitabh. He is also your customer, by the way. So I wanted to understand from you, you're part of the Lenskart group, but still you carved out a separate journey for John Jacobs. And why was that required? Why couldn't it exist within the same ecosystem as many of the people are saying here?
All right. So with John Jacobs, we have a very, very specific focus, and it's been like that from the past 5 years, which is the year we started the brand. I think there are multiple ways to segment brands, right? And price is just a losing moat. It's not, you can't, I mean, in our case, we don't compete on value at all. So when we originally started, we started as a challenger brand in the premium space. And then very quickly, we became the leading brand in the Indian ecosystem in the premium segment. So now we could no longer be the challenger, right? So for us, basically, two things happened and largely accelerated by COVID, frankly. One is we first identified what is it that we will not do. Right? So we decided we're going to play only in the style, value, and authority ethos. So style is that, and I can close my eyes and tell you that nobody does eyewear styling like John Jacobs does, and I can compete that and say that at a very global scale. The other piece is authority. So we work on the concept of mastery of material. So we do a lot of R&D and innovation on material. So we do titanium and memory and some of these extremely specific product categories, and that authority for us is very critical to our competitive advantage. And the last one is value. So we're not competing on price. We will never be a cheap brand by competition standards, but we're the right value for the offer that we're giving. So that was super critical for us to get out of the way. So that's part one. Part two is, because we were so deeply entrenched in the premium space, we decided we want to know everything about our customer. So in our case, we actually broke our entire consumer journey down into the funnel, right? And we treat each consumer within the funnel very, very differently. So if you're only at the brand awareness stage, you will see a very different version of John Jacobs versus if you're, like a consumer of ours. And currently, and I was chatting with a few people outside as well, that this is the year when we're focused only on the super consumer, right? It's that 10% of our consumer base, and we have very high stickiness in our consumer base. That is truly going to change our fortunes, because what that if we just cater to that 10%, I can easily cater to the 80% and don't have to extend that type of effort. So for us, so to answer your question, why did we need to do it is, one is that we wanted to build a moat that was not price, right? It's super easy to make a cheaper product, to make very similar looking products look sort of similar but not offer the quality. So that was sort of critical, right? And it's no secret, eyewear is a highly profitable business to operate out of. The margins are great, and for us, because we were D2C in so many ways, we were cutting that opacity that other and we all know that it's basically very Italian-driven mafia, we call it. The Italian mafia drives the industry. So it was super easy to compete on that direct-to-consumer space for us. So yeah, really the metrics just make sense to build the way we did it. We don't compete, we're not offer discount-driven, we don't compete on price. So we are very happy to operate in a sharp little niche of our own.
But if you go to a Lenskart store, you will find those Italian mafia brands, some of them in the stores also.
Yeah.
So how do you compete with them, and how do you compete when Piyush and Karan go on TV and attract so many more consumers?
Yeah, so we have two actually customer acquisition spaces for us, right? One is the Karan Piyush version, which is the 999 customer, the customer that originally said that I'm going to go into a Lenskart store, and of which we have 1,500 points of sale where John Jacobs also sells. And then that customer, because it's going to sit on your face, right? It's not like a hot pink neon mini skirt that's hot in spring summer 23, so I'm going to buy it. It's not that. Typically, an average customer is going to use their product almost on a daily basis for 8 months at the very least. So there is opportunity to upgrade that customer. We build a lot of storytelling into that, but also we give you a quality guarantee. Some of our guarantees are very stupid for a customized product, but for example, it's de-risked. Your trials are, you can trial, you can return, you can exchange, and there's a lifetime warranty in case of John Jacobs over at least 2 years, and repairs for free forever, right? So some of these things really help drive that. So that is one acquisition, the 999 customer. The other is that the customer who came to buy the Italian mafia brand, right? So in their case, we like to be placed next to them because that's the true test of that quality that we commit. When you see it in person, you see it next to that rack. So every store where actually other global brands compete in, we have the highest share. We do much better with them in our vicinity. So we like that competition. It's a good way to bring those switchers into the business.
Cool. I'll go to Amitabh, to you. You also run one of the largest brands in the country. How are you segmenting? Because you also have a very wide base of consumers buying US Polo, right, in a way. So how do you segment? How do you look at the market types? Is there a strategy behind that, about approaching different markets with different product lines? So if you can share that, it would be really nice.
So I'll start by addressing the two trends I'm seeing as a brand manager for the last few years. Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Two trends I'm seeing. One is obviously this whole India story, how fast we are growing and how big our markets are becoming, and double-digit CAGR for most of us in retail. On the other side, we are seeing that there are only a handful of us who are operating this business, in the menswear segment. We keep hearing about D2C brands coming. We keep hearing about them, coming in, making interesting dent, and some phasing out. So staying power is a concern for them, but they do bring what is called ingenuity into the business. So that's one, where you're saying that the market's growing, but there are not too many players for it. So is there an opportunity for a new brand to come in? The answer is yes. But let's be very fair to that new brand that you've got to do the time. You cannot build a brand in 5 years or 10 years. It needs a lifetime, more than a lifetime in fact, to start becoming impressive to the consumer and becoming a sticky factor. The second trend we're seeing, which is more on the fashion side, is that this consumer doesn't seem to be getting older. Every time I walk into the market, I'm trying to figure out that where's that uncle customer gone? Because the uncle customer is buying the same product as, let's say, the younger one is buying. So I call myself the uncle customer. We are now 45 plus. We were the guys you were calling older when we joined this business. But our sense of want for fashion has not changed. Our willingness to look slightly more presentable has not changed. So there's a perceptible difference in the way the consumer is reacting to brands versus what it was about 2 decades back. So now I was in the UK and I was looking at Levi's in London, and I was amazed to see that a brand was actually selling 6 fits to the consumer at large. Now I'm very confused as a retailer, because earlier back in the day it was easy. Slim fit बिक रहा है, या वो bootleg आने वाला है, या फिर अभी loose चल रहा है. So, it was I think from Sanjay to Manish to all of us, we all began making those fits and working around it. But today I walk into a store, there's a customer of a straight leg, there's a customer of a boot, there's a guy who still wants skinny, there's a guy who wants a tapered, cropped, and now consumers are pulling in different directions. Now this either is an opportunity or it's a disaster in waiting, because our systems are not geared to handle multiple requirements or a consumer pulling us in different directions. So the challenges for a brand today is, are we sticking to the old formula or are we reinventing ourselves? Now to answer the question you had raised, we're no different. You know, we are a legacy brand, very proud to say, probably one of the largest casual wear brands in today. We have had 2 fantastic adjacency journeys in footwear and in innerwear. But when you look at apparel, we have distinguished how the guys in the US say that US polo is meant for the player who plays polo and his lifestyle. So the question we asked them was that what happens to the guy who comes and watches the game of US polo? Oh, we call him a spectator. So I asked them, can we make clothes for the spectator? And the answer was yes. And that's how we gave birth to a new brand called US Polo Denim & Company. So while US Polo has a very tight, offer in terms of color, in terms of cuts, in terms of product, Denim & Company is where we flirt more with the consumer. We give them a sense of style, we give them an after dark wear, we give them an occasion to go out and not be in that constricted uniform code of what a polo wearer or a legacy brand is. The funny part is I've seen over the last couple of years and for the decade I was observing this brand does not seem to get old. I see this brand getting stretched. I can see a 18-year-old youngster who goes to the first time to a store and wants to buy the double horse pony on his chest. And I see his father, who could be possibly a golfer on the course, wearing a US Polo. Every time I'm in the airport, I'm very happy, usually in the airports, because I see a lot of people wearing US Polo. So US Polo has begun to mean a lot of things to different people. For a variety of people, it is an athleisure, I won't say athleisure, sorry, wrong word, a travel gear. So I can see a lot of people comfortable in a US Polo wearing on an airport. I see them wearing it to a mall on a lazy Sunday. Some folks wear it to office. So the brand has kind of taken a contour of its own in the last decade and a half, where consumer has declared the brand of choice. It's not, I wouldn't take too much credit or I wouldn't give it to anybody else. It's a consumer connect with the brand. So going back to the first point I made, Vineet, was that if you want to be in this business, and as Manjula said, if you can't have an emotional connect with that consumer, you really can't build a brand to last. So for us as a brand like US Polo, the connect was built many years in advance. We are reaping the benefits of it today. And that's how it's going to be.
So I'll ask you a question before I go to Dhruv. Is because you're saying it's confusing to do so many things for so many customers, same customer asking so many fits. So are you leaving a lot of space for the spikers and the D2C brands to come in?
Of course. The market's big enough for all of us. Why spiker? There are 10 more brands waiting to make an entry. The problem is, do they have the maturity to understand this? Look at me, look at Sanjay, both of us look at you. We're all significantly older gentlemen today. We've been in this industry for long. Rome wasn't built in a day. Brands don't get built in a day. I love the enthusiasm of young D2C operatives who think they can create a 100 crore marquee brand, without any retail metrics to speak of. So I welcome them and I wish them luck, but I also give them, advice that you got to hold this journey for longer. You got to really paint it out for yourself. It's not that easy to build brands.
So I'll ask you a question which I think is to all three of us. So are we too arrogant about this, that they can't enter and hence no one is going to compete, or is it really the truth?
Individually, I think three of us are very humble people. But when you put on our brand hats, we do get arrogant because we carry our arrogance. The brand carries arrogance. So I guess the arrogance comes from the brand. From us, we are just normal operatives. You could be working here or there. We aren't the arrogant people. But it's important for a brand to have arrogance, because if I don't have that slightly larger than life perspective, how does one inspire himself to be a brand? So that's my answer.
I think it's a good politically correct answer. But we'll leave the rest of our discussion for evening. I'll go to Dhruv. Dhruv, you have an occasion wear category. You operate the brand only in that specific space. So how do you broaden the horizon? What do you look at journey for Tasva?
So one of the points is obviously very high emotional purchase, which you mentioned, wedding wear. So I'll give you some stats before I start the conversation. There are 10 million marriages happening each year in our country, and 1/3 of the population is in marriage age. And there's one national player, and it's largely unorganized. It's a 15,000 crore market. And there's a big space between a value player and the super premium segment, which is where we want to come in and provide a very good fabric, a high design product, which caters to the young Indian male who also wants styling and practical clothing. So that's where we come in. With obviously having our own sampling unit, our own in-house design, we're much closer to the market. Also, I'm picking up on the high emotional purchase. We see in our stores, in wedding wear stores, you have customers who come in 3 or 4 times before actually making the purchase. You have customers spending average 2.5 hours of their time to finally pick the right product for the groom or for the other wedding wear. So very high on emotions, huge category to focus, and we've had a good journey this year. We started with 6 stores. We're already at 55 stores within 1 year's time. We're present in 20 cities. We've opened 2 franchise stores now. And a lot of customers, Vineet, keep asking us, when are you launching the women's wear range?
Because I heard it's coming soon.
Yes, it's coming soon. It's coming soon. Hopefully, next year when we talk, it should be there. We're trying to correct a lot of things because we're a new brand. We are much closer to the consumer. So we've launched a few categories. As we are rapidly expanding, we're also taking some time to pause and reflect what went right, what went wrong. So a lot of corrections along the way, but in 1 year's time, you'll see a lot bigger stores.
Yeah, I know the top floor of Southex is empty for the women's brand to come in. That's what I was told.
Yes,
but I have a question to you. Yeah. You're used only focusing on marriage, but occasion wear in itself is a very large market. So will you, like a customer like me, obviously we're not going to get married again, hopefully. So we're not going to come to your store if you only focus on the marriage part of the, because your pitch was completely starting with the number of marriages India is going to see.
So the irony is, while I keep pitching marriage wear, we're selling a lot of occasion wear.
Yeah,
because that's something which does not involve such high involvement.
Dhruv, sorry, remarriage is another option, Remarriage.
Yes, of course. But like I was saying, so casual wear is actually, it's a lot easier to sell that. And I think as we start our journey in the malls, we predominantly high street focus right now. I think that's a big play. Occasion wear is a very big play. And we'll get into that also now. Yeah.
Great. I have 2 specific questions to 2 of the panelists. One obviously is for Gautam. You created a brand out of a category. So before Go Colors came into picture across the nation, mix and match was like a private label territory for almost all the players. Taking big inspiration from that, but creating a fantastic range. How did you really connect a brand? And how do you make that brand so big now?
So I think, sir, see, anything is brandable in apparel, right? Because like everyone in the panel are mentioning, there's an emotional connect. But if I drill down to why a customer is walking into a Go Colors, there are 2 specific reasons. One is range and one is quality, and the third is pricing. So the way we've positioned Go Colors is reasonable pricing, very high quality.
Sure.
So today, what kind of range a customer is not able to find for bottom wear in a top wear store or in a large format store, we are delivering that in our 400 square feet stores.
Sure.
So we are able to give 100 plus colors across 50 styles of bottom. That at reasonable pricing, backed up with superior quality. That is the emotional connect we've connected with the customer. So a customer keeps coming back to our stores. You'll be surprised in a mall where we are located with the other women wear brands. Customers are bringing the tops of other women wear, top wear brands, and the tops are bought to our store. They mix and match, and they get the relevant bottom.
Absolutely.
This comes to my original point that we are not defining ourselves as ethnic, Western, or fusion. We are bottom wear.
Correct.
So we are welcome to all women customers.
Sure. Thank you. Lavish, why Rare Rabbit?
Why Rare Rabbit? So the fashion is curated for the rare man. Now, the rare man can have a everlasting definition in all the ways. And rabbit, because the way rabbit multiply faster, we want the men's wardrobe to multiply faster. Because generally men limit themselves not from...
Can you talk a little louder?
Generally men limit themselves into black, white, gray and blue. So we want them to multiply their wardrobe faster in multiple different colors. So that's why the name came into play, Rare Rabbit.
Also, I know no one can join your team unless they get a tattoo of I am rare, right? Can you show that to the audience here? That's the passion on the they're carrying it along, right? Is that right?
Sorry?
You have to tattoo I am rare for
Yes,
joining
you
the
can
team.
see it there.
Yeah, you can see it on the
On the
screen, I
screen.
think. So is it a mandatory thing to have that passion, or is it coming naturally, or it is that you're engraving it in people's mind?
It grows on you actually. It is not mandatory at all, but we have about 7-8 of us have this tattoo on their hand. It started by me, by the way.
All of them have equity shareholding or ESOPs in the company, right?
No, it grows on you. Basically, it takes few years to have that.
So that's how when ESOPs get given also, right? No?
Not yet.
Okay, I'll come to Lavanya. I have a question for you. You are a predominantly a large online brand. And so how does the brand differentiate? Is there a brand differentiator between online and offline? And then I'll come to a few more panelists on the same question. So is there a differentiation or is it the same brand?
No, I don't think so. We differentiate between an online and an offline. There might be a product play differentiation because in the store you obviously cannot carry all the offerings what you have on the brand. But we give the same kind of experience. I think so it's more personalized when it comes to the store because they can do fitting. They can actually take guidance on what kind of lingerie will suit for their body type. So there is no differentiation also. But what we do is, since we cannot maintain all the products at the store, we promote store online, which means that our staffs are trained to, nudge the customer to still shop offline for the same product, and then it kind of gets delivered to their house. So we solve the inventory problem. The pricing is same, whether it is on our website or whether it is in our store. So we did not differentiate. I think so it's the same consumer. So the offering is more or less the same between offline
and how are you going to fence Zivame against internal competition of all the brands that Reliance has acquired in the same category?
See, I think so, like I said, today also this is a very unorganized marketplace, okay? It's good that more people are taking, it's a very technical category. It's not so simple like apparel where you have the normal sizing, which is small, medium, large. I think so it's a very technical multi-sizing, so when you talk about the band and the cup. So the more players coming in, I think so there is still room for more people to kind of come and make this as an organized play, especially because 80% of the women do not wear the correct lingerie today. So I think so for us to solve that and actually make this as, like a normal forefront category, it's always good to have more players, who kind of coming in the brand. There is more than enough opportunity for brands to grow in this category.
Cool. I'll start with Sachin on the last. Few words from you on where do you see yourself 3 years from there, and will your strategy change regarding your brand overall?
From 3 years from now, I think we'll still be a North Indian brand. We are not going to expand south or anywhere because we feel that there is a lot of gap still for our consumers in North India, and we are doing absolutely excellent in North India, from Delhi, from central till Srinagar. So we go to, but our focus on per store sale has to be like, we are going to target 30% growth every year per store.
I think many people should take note, especially people from my team. They definitely need to take note of this. 30% growth from the same store.
It's not the number of stores we are going to focus. Yes, that has to be there. But our main primary focus has to be on growth on per store.
No, I think that is what will make more profit in end of the day.
And of course,
same store
and
growing.
one more thing, and keep the discounting. That's like.
So what is your discounting?
Huh?
Let's hear this. What is your discounting?
Discounting has become so challenging these days because, every year the number of discount days, EOSS so-called, has been just going on increasing now days have gone, it has come down to months, weeks. That's like challenging.
Season.
And there we need to really work hard.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll come to you, Sam. And you also have to share discounting.
Yeah, I just thought we didn't probably cover one part of it. Why you need to be very focused on your core strength as one category is that gives you opportunity to fence yourself from immediate unknown hit, unforeseen hit from a competition coming and doing that to you. So if you're very focused and sharpening that, then the economies of scale. Second part of it is why you need to do, non-focused on, you should not be distracted from doing too many things, but why should you do extend is because when you plateau in your sales, you are actually seeing, you are actually settling down on your number, you need to have an extension to actually get the next flip into the next, leap of your business. Otherwise, you will get marginal growth.
So Pepe's next 3-year leap is on basis what?
Yeah, we are also fascinated with these numbers. We are also looking like,
30% like-to-like growth.
Like-to-like growth?
You can take note.
So 25%.
I have got it committed. Please pass some percentage to me.
Yeah. So we also have a brand, upgrade, and our identity is getting evolved, and that we are also expecting that to get us, double-digit like-for-like growth.
Okay. Double-digit is nice enough. 30% is also double-digit.
High double-digit growth.
Yeah. Great. Manjula will come to you.
So the point I was making is that, from a brand strategic point of view, if you stay strong only to your core capacity, probably you get, unless your innovation ability will actually come down. If you feel to be a dominant player, at one point of time, somebody can hit you very badly. Second one is your opportunity to grow, take a quantum leap than the category growth if you want to. So denim is growing at X percentage. If you want to do a 2X, that probably will come only from an outside, a natural extension of the brand.
And discounting. No? Okay.
I didn't hear you.
No, I said and discounting.
Yes.
Yeah. So Manjula will come to you.
What was the question? Next 3 years?
3 years, what do you see? Is your strategy going to change? Because now you have...
Actually, what's happened is that I think this is the best time to grow brands in India. It's the most fertile period for growing brands in India because there is a shift, with digital payments and formalization, GST, etc. We are moving from unorganized to organized at a more rapid pace than we ever did before. And I think a lot of, especially women's wear, Indian, Western, whichever way, women's wear was way more unorganized and informal than men's wear even, because men's wear brands like Louis Philippe and Hiren, they came in early and organized that market much earlier from the early 90s. Women's wear is still highly unorganized, highly driven by white labels, non-labels, store brands, department store brands, so on. So I think in our category, we have to just continue to focus on creation of brand because the market is just waking up to women's wear organized brands today. And therefore, I feel the growth in women's wear brands will be like 40, 50% year on year. A large number will also come from like-to-like growth. Like we are already seeing 20+% like-to-like growth. And so there is no really big change in strategy. Like Amitabh said, brands are not built overnight. And you can't keep just distracting yourself from different strategy. I'm very clear, tier 1, tier 2, fashion-loving, value-conscious Indian woman. I want to solve her need to have international fashion at the same time as it is released in any global player's shop, same time, but which looks better on her. That's it. And we'll just keep doing what we are doing and keep getting better at it because it takes time. Those brands that we compare ourselves with were built over 30, 40 years. So we have a long way to go.
Sure. Lavish, is there anything from you? 3 years, any more brands coming from your portfolio?
There will be definitely extension of the existing brand. So Rare Rabbit will get into many categories, but focusing and the objective will be being sharp in every category we offer. But yes, we are 3 brands already on the table: Rare Rabbit, Rareism, Articale. We would be having kids by March, which would be rare ones. Footwear is definitely there on the table. We may see different stores of footwear soon. Maybe we would want to experiment a few. I think that is what so far. We are 104 Rare Rabbit stores. We would be about 225, 230 in 2.5, 3 years.
Wow. That's amazing. Lavanya?
So I think since Zivame really started as a D2C brand in e-commerce, We have started expansion in, the physical retail. So I think so the whole conference is about Fee Digital or Omni Retail. I think so the next 3 years we will consolidate our position more into retail, B2B also. And again, in terms of extension of categories, we have already started our journey or, product offerings on shapewear, activewear, which are more like an extension of the category. So we will kind of, focus more on those categories going forward.
Hiren from, I think Lavish wants to say something.
Sorry,
He remembered another brand that was getting launched.
Also, we would like to play a lot with the name Rare. So there is an opportunity there which we see, and we may come up with Rare Home and Rare Club. But that is not 3 years, maybe 7 to 10 years.
Okay.
So what do we get from Levi's the next 3 years?
I think more lifestyle, more head to toe, more impactful stores, shop-in-shops, and being more interesting with respect to meaningful stories being told with consumers on these categories. These are the 3 top things that come to my mind now. We are celebrating 150th year of 501, so our moat around bottoms continue to be even stronger, and yeah, that's what comes to my mind.
Well, Gautam?
Yeah, see, I think we will keep going deeper in the bottom wear category. I think the preferences of the customer as far as bottom wear is changing every 5 years and very rapidly. I would say 6-7 years back, the hottest selling product in bottom wear was chudidar, and today it is trousers. So it's come a long way. So I think as a brand, we have to keep evolving over the next 10 years, and if we don't evolve, we won't be relevant to the customer, say, after 5-10 years. So I think that evolution of change as a brand is very important. So I think that is going to be on top priority.
Very good.
Dhruv, from you.
Okay, 3 years, 3 simple things. Franchise-led expansion, larger than life stores, women's wear obviously, and 0 discounting.
And any target on the number of stores from Ashish to you?
5x from now.
5x from today. Yeah. So that's 250 stores. That's not a bad target. We'll come to you.
Okay, we have a few. We'll obviously want to double down on this category. In India, specifically, it's about consolidating from the unorganized market, really. There's not enough competition. So we expect as the consumers get richer, more lifestyle-oriented, this is a category where we'll extend and double down on. The second is we are anticipating a global footprint, not just through our own stores, but also through specialist partners in complex markets where insurance, etc. components become quite critical. And the third one for us, and that foray has already started, is we're building very strong design collaborations, and we want to be the #1 brand of choice for all design partnerships over the next 3 years.
Amitabh?
Keep it simple for us. We would like to keep our leadership position intact over the next 3 years. We want to grow just above market, no grandeur plans. Stay profitable, minimize discount, run a good business. I think that would be my wish for the next 3 years.
Fantastic. Sanjay, the last words from you.
Do what you've done for menswear in the women's wear side.
Oh, that's interesting.
So,
that's like an announcement today?
Let it be like that.
I hope someone from ET is there.
Yeah, so I think Spiker women jeanswear should become whatever we are in menswear today.
Very good.
Fantastic.
All the best. Thank you.
I know the time's up, but we could pick 1 or 2 questions for the panel. If they are. Okay, I don't see any hands.
I think they're looking for the tea break now.
Okay, so I think thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Vinny. Okay, so I think Gautam has won.
All apparel players will grow successfully without inventory disasters.
I think that's the peril of being in fashion, right? Inventory. So we'll live up to that.
Sure.
But thank you so much, everyone on the
Thank
panel.
you.
Thank you.